are. Hi, this is Coach World TV. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Gigi Khonyongwa-Fernandez. She didn't think I could say it. I've been practicing all night long. Hey, Gigi.
Hello, Laurie. How are you?
I'm thrilled to have you on.
Glad to be here.
We've been doing this for, what were we talking about, a year now that you're going to come on? And the reason I want her on is when I first met Gigi, she was telling me that she's a parent coach, and I went, you know what? I don't have a lot of parent coaches on. It's like, why I want to hear about it. And she's developed this fantastic program called Families Blossoming, and we're going to talk all about that. But first, I think what's really interesting is to find out how you became a coach. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. I became a coach because I wanted to, but my background is healthcare, and I was working as an occupational therapist specializing in neurology, and my background has always been sort of helping people, but I wanted something more, something that was a little bit deeper, more meaningful, and something that was transformative and life-changing. And
what kind of healthcare were you doing?
I was doing no. I was doing some of that, but mainly I was a therapist. So I worked in hospitals, I worked in rehabilitation centers, and my background was neurology. So I worked with a lot of people who either had traumatic brain injuries, brain tumors, anything that dealt with the neurological system.
The reason I asked is because I didn't want you to think she was like a medical assistant. She was already doing something, but she thought coaching would go a little deeper, and she's right. She's really created one heck of a program here. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I paid you to say that. Thank you. But so it was. I really, to be honest, I got burned out by the healthcare system, and I thought it has to be something a little bit more. But what was fascinating about healthcare is that you realize how dynamic people really are, and how they can reinvent themselves, and they can always change, and there's so much growth and potential. And oftentimes, for whatever reason, life circumstances, job, family, whatever, we get stuck. And so I was just searching to see what else that I wanted to do. I was doing project management, again, within the healthcare system in the UK, because I'm originally from the US, but I was living in the UK, working in the healthcare system there, which was different than the healthcare system here.
Is it really? I mean, we won't get into that, but is it easier, or is it as complicated, or?
I would say it's different.
Human-related?
It's definitely much more. I think
Really?
One of the reasons I left the U.S. healthcare system was because the UK system is definitely, they haven't quite forgotten that they're still treating human beings. I think in the U.S. we've kind of forgotten that.
My favorite doctor said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, and he's off in New Mexico being a spiritual healer. And he's, I can't do the system anymore. So I understand.
Exactly.
So they're a little bit more compassionate.
They're more compassionate. And their motto is, the National Health Service motto is healthcare at the free healthcare at the point of access. So nobody asks you for your insurance number, those kind of things. But even with that, it still, I still wanted something that was really trying to help people to get the tools they needed for life, the tools for living. And like I was telling Laurie, life happens when you're making plans. So my plan was just to, retrain as a coach, and have my, coaching practice and be happy. Just kind of be a generalist, I think. But our son was born very early at 24 weeks, so life just completely turned, around and around again and again and again. And I very quickly felt very lost. And I'm a pretty, I think, proactive person, very much glass half full kind of person. But when that happened, you're with the child at 645 grams, you're in the hospital, you are everyone's telling you what you should do or what you shouldn't do. You don't know if your child's going to live or not live, and you felt completely, utterly lost. And I retrained as a coach, and I thought I was going to be a generalist, and I realized very quickly through that experience, and even more so after he left the hospital. He was in the intensive care unit for about 5.5 months.
Wow.
And I realized that really that's when my journey was beginning, because I was home alone. I didn't have the nurses, the doctors, the monitors, or whatever. And I found out in speaking with other parents that really is the point where in some ways your support is lessening, but it's when you actually need the most support. So I started specializing in helping what I call special parents or special kids. And it's parents of children who are born prematurely, children who are medically vulnerable, or children who have special needs. So I focus on supporting the parents so that they can start supporting not only themselves but also their families. So my son is the inspiration. Because of him, I'm doing what I'm doing now. Otherwise, I will be off in La La Land somewhere. Who knows?
I don't know. Gosh, I just can't even imagine. The problems seem overwhelming. You're right. When you're in the hospital, you've got doctors and nurses and people who don't know nothing about anything telling you what to do. Yes, you have to weed all that out. But you know that somebody has your back. But when you're home, it's kind of like you're on call.
Yes.
You're the one.
Yes.
What is like the biggest challenge that you think parents of children with special needs have? Or I'm sure there's not just one.
Yeah, there are a lot of things, but I think going from your point, you said about when you're in hospital, you have all the support, and I often call the support. I often call it pseudo parents, because you have the doctors and the nurses and the therapists, and every specialist telling you what you should be doing, what you should be thinking, what you should be looking for, what you should be feeling. That oftentimes parents lose themselves, and that's what I found. I found for myself that I was lost, and other people losing themselves, and you lose your voice and just the ability to trust yourself and believe yourself in that instinct. So I think that's the biggest thing is helping parents to find themselves again, find their voice again, to become empowered again, and not just it be those kind of adjectives that's just kind of floating there, but what does that truly mean for you and your situation? How can it actually be implemented, for your child who, is not developing like the typical developer child is? So.
While you were speaking, I was thinking it's like, and I can only speak from pretend experience, but
are you a pseudo person? No.
Yes, no. But I would think that in some cases it would be almost a relief. It's like, wow, I'm so lost here. Let me lose my voice. I'm going to listen to all these voices around me. And it would be so easy to surrender yourself. It's like, I know nothing about this. This isn't how I planned it. I had, So I would think not only finding your voice, but realizing the need to find your voice. It's like it must be really frightening out there. Yeah.
And then how to use it, because you're right. Sometimes you probably will not need to use your voice the same way. In some situations, sometimes it's okay to be quiet and to listen. I often try to encourage parents to, kind of get this have this or develop this philosophy, or embrace the philosophy, I guess, that they are the expert of their children. They are the expert of themselves and of their children. And then everyone else is expert of, maybe you have a doctor that's expert in autism, or an expert in feeding issues, or whatever it may be. But then together you're coming and working together and figuring out what's best for your child.
I love that you're the expert of your children. And that's only you will know, because you're going to be with that child more than anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. But a lot of I kind of take it a step back, because there's been so much emphasis when you do have a child who's born prematurely or who have special needs. There's so much emphasis on the child, which rightly so in a lot of ways. But a lot of what I focus on is really supporting the parents so that they can feel comfortable, so that they can take care of that child and any other siblings they may have. They can take care of their health. They can take care of their relationships, with their significant other, with their family and friends. So it's about, finding the tools within, and also alluding to what you said earlier, being okay to let go. Because I think as parents, we feel like we're supposed to know it all. We're supposed to be in control. We're supposed to have the answers.
And you're supposed to fix it.
And you're supposed to fix it.
That's your job.
Yeah, my child. and having a child that's unwell and chronically unwell, being able to say, I can't fix this.
I need help.
I need help.
Yeah, and that's a hard one.
And that's a really,
one.
really hard one. And
it's not like saying I need help to learn this new computer process. It's like I need help to do what it seems like everyone seems to know instinctively, but nobody does.
But nobody does.
Right.
Nobody does. And
but they appear to.
They appear to. And it's a very surreal. Parenting in itself is you know, it's a kettle of fish under circumstances.
Yeah.
But when you're tapping in ongoing surgeries, ongoing assessments, ongoing whatever it may be, then there's an extra, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 different layers. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes there's a lot coming at you, and you don't know what to do. You're overwhelmed. A lot of parents deal with this kind of recurring theme of being anxious, feeling anger, and feeling guilt, and they just kind of
those are the three
feelings that keep churning, and it manifests itself in different ways, in different aspects of your
so
of
anger,
your life.
Anger, and guilt.
Anger, anxiety, and guilt.
Oh, okay.
Anger, anxiety.
All right.
Yeah, angst, anxiety. They're the same.
So where would the anger come from? What would some examples of them being angry?
Of their child being born early, of their child being sick.
Of not being able to fix it.
Of not being able to fix it.
Yeah.
Of the situation. Being angry at others around them not understanding. Or they feeling like they're not understanding them. Being angry at the mothers and fathers who have to work outside the home, their employers not being understanding of their situation. They may have to take off more if their child has more surgeries. And oftentimes, and that's the thing, when something is chronic, it's very difficult to predict when is this going to end. There's not an end point. And that's oftentimes what's difficult for the parent, but also difficult for whoever is around them. Because it's not like, okay, you're sick, I give you some medicine, you're better.
Or it's not like a phase, he'll grow out of it.
It's not a phase. It's not, yes.
This is it. Make it better, make it worse.
And make it worse, yeah. So it's something about you're in it for the long haul. And a lot of the anger, particularly with parents of children who are born prematurely, it's kind of mixed with anger and guilt that they couldn't finish their pregnancy. They're angry at finishing their pregnancy, or not being able to finish their pregnancy. And oftentimes that's manifested in they see other pregnant women, or other children who, are born at the same age, same time as their child, and they're developing, I say normally because, normal is what is normal, but oftentimes there's a lot of comparing. If you have another child, that was born before or afterward, there's a lot of anger around. Well, also the siblings can exhibit anger because why is so-and-so getting more attention?
And honey, we don't even want to talk about
spouse. And not the spouse, exactly. But that's a lot of the anger also with spouse. Spouses dealing with, there's a very distinct difference between how mothers react to the situation and how fathers react to the situation.
Oh, tell us the difference. We
there's a lot.
Yes.
Mothers, yes. And it's funny you say that because I thought I knew everything and I had all the answers until my husband told me that, I probably didn't, but I didn't believe him. But there is this thing about, I think the two distinct differences between, and this is a generalization because everyone's situation is different, but fathers often feel that they are invisible, the invisible parent, and the mothers often feel that they are the ones that they are not, that the ones that have all the answers, they know what to do, and those two kind of very distinct and kind of generalizations can oftentimes, or there are many times they're amplified or by others around. So if you go to the doctor, for example, the doctor speaks to the mother, not to the father.
Sure, because she's the primary
Because she's the primary caregiver. Yeah. Although I have been working with fathers who are primary caregivers, it's a bunch of, but they're still, it's almost like they go in and they are, they go to the doctor's office with the child and it's like, well, is the mother coming?
Oh.
Because it's an assumption.
Yeah.
But another key difference, because like you said, the mothers tend to be the primary caregivers, the fathers have to go back to work, and oftentimes they lose themselves in the work. And there's this anger that you're not here with me emotionally, because you don't know what's actually happening. The mothers feel like you're not here, and the fathers feel like I'm coping the best way I can. And one way I cope is to go and to work.
Right.
And I can, because at work things are controlled, or as much as we think they're controlled.
Or he has a sense
of control, sense of routine, sense of normalcy.
Good analogy, yeah.
At home, I'm not sure what's going to happen or what I'm going to come home to.
And then on the mother's side, she lives in a world of total non-control. It's like, you can control when the shots are given or when the doctor's appointments are, but I think you're always kind of waiting for that other shoe to fall. That's where the anxiety comes in, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes. And I had a mother that told me that her child was born prematurely, and for many years she thought she was kind of relative. She went through the hospital experience relatively unscathed, and she was okay. But there was a sense of anxiety that maybe I'm missing something. Something's going to happen. And her child was much older. I think maybe 10 or 11 years old. And then she was diagnosed with Asperger's. And it was almost like, that's what's happening. And I guess the best way to describe the families that I work with is it's definitely a roller coaster ride. But a roller coaster never ends. So, and it's something about when we're working together is helping them for themselves, some kind of way, slow it down. There may still be movement. There will be movement, hopefully, but it won't be this jarring up and down. And if there is jarring, what can I do now? Or at least giving them the tools and support that they can have something that they can use when something does happen that jars them, so they don't actually feel so overwhelmed and lost, or they can actually, if they do feel it, they know how to deal with it, and they know how to embrace it, and they know how to say, sometimes it's okay to say, this isn't right. Yeah. And I feel like crap. I really don't. And I'm mad. And I'm mad. And I'm mad. And sometimes and that's why I'm saying finding your voice. Sometimes we feel like we have to be perfect, and that we're supposed even to ask questions of the professionals. Well, I say you are the professional of of your child and yourself, but sometimes we don't want to ask questions because we think that we shouldn't.
What do we know?
What do we know? What do we know?
They're the experts.
They're the experts. So sometimes finding your voice is being able to say, having that raw emotion and being able to say, I'm fed up with this. I don't. And oftentimes that's where advocacy comes in. When people get angry about something. So it's the emotion is not bad in itself. It's how are we actually going to use it to help us move forward? How are we going to use the anxiety? Knowing that we do get anxious, so what are some things we can do to kind of use that to help us become a little bit more confident?
Let me ask you something, because I've spent more of my life than I'd like in survival mode, just really dealing with chaos. At what point do
I have a workshop about that.
Good. Let me know when
turning
it is.
calmness and chaos into calmness. Something like that. What's the name of it?
I wrote something called The Comfort of Chaos. I'm used to it. It's cool. But at what point, when you're in the middle of survival mode, is it unrealistic to think that the parent's going to go, I need to have a hot fudge sundae, or I need to get my nails done? I mean, how do people find you? And how do they know they need you? Because I can see what a service you're providing, but how do they know you?
When they, where am I? That is a good question.
Let's give. We know where we are right now, but let's give her website, which is Families Blossoming. No trick spellings. .com.
Yeah, www.familiesblossoming.com.
They're going to find on there the workshops that you're talking about, and the programs, and the public speaking. But how are you letting people know you're out there besides things like this?
A lot of word of mouth. A lot of people that I work with have been referred to me by either doctors or agencies or physicians who feel like they will benefit from it. And often I work with a lot of agencies that go in and provide workshops to those agency organizations like the March of Dimes, like resources for children with special needs, like United Cerebral Palsy, going in and supporting the parents through providing workshops standard workshops I have, or workshops that are kind of bespoke services that are created for that particular audience.
Okay.
And so I have a monthly newsletter that I put out.
Great.
It's a free monthly newsletter that people can go to my website and subscribe to. And it's really about, it's every month you will get tips and tools, just, when you're feeling frazzled, just like you're just at your wit's end. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're a little bit serious, sometimes it's a mixture of both. And it's very much about, having something that you, not feeling like you're not alone, but also having something that you can kind of go back and chew on, that month. And so, so it's more and more I'm getting the word out there that that it's okay to say you need a coach to be a parent, as a parent, and definitely if your child has special needs or your child is medically vulnerable or sick, because you're in the back seat oftentimes when it happens, and for years, we're not talking about just a few weeks or months, for months and years you are, so you don't even know who you are anymore.
When you say you're in the back seat, you mean
the
your priority goes to the child.
The priority goes to the child, and then not to yourself. So you've kind of lost yourself. And it's not to, beat yourself up and say, oh, I shouldn't have done this. But it's like, okay, well, that was the phase of my life. And you talked about chaos and survival mode. That's one of the main reasons that I work with parents after they've left the hospital. Because when you're in the hospital and your child is, in the acute phase, you are in survival mode.
Yeah.
You can't think about, well, what should I be doing? How should I be
what are we
using
having
these
for dinner
coping?
Tonight?
Yes, and what kind of coping skills should I have? And you're really just trying to survive. It's but it's after you've left and you say, well, this is going to be ongoing. I'm going to need help, and knowing that it's okay to ask for help. And I think because I am a parent, which I don't think I said earlier, I don't know if I did or not, but my son was born prematurely at 24 weeks and spent many months in the hospital, but he's also legally blind because of his history and his condition. So I'm walking a very similar walk with the people that I'm working with. Yes. So I have a different perspective, and so they know that there's a certain knowingness. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word or not. I've created it. It's make it a word. Yeah. A knowingness. My husband says I have a dash of geekiness. A certain knowingness. Well, some things they don't have to explain to me,
right?
Because I know it.
Been there.
I've been there. And so we can take that and make something, create something together.
I salute your brilliantness, actually, because I think that is when the need is most. As soon as you're cut loose from the whole medical support team, it's like, oh my gosh, now what?
Yes,
and
yes.
There you are. Are there any more Yigis out there? Is anybody else doing this? I don't know of anyone.
I don't know either. And that's actually when I was first thinking about where can I really fit, and I had to think about something that was here, that was I'm really passionate about what I'm doing, really passionate about the parents, because I know oftentimes they're kind of in some ways can be on the periphery, it's all
they get pushed
and they get pushed aside. There's so much going on, and there's so much you're supposed to learn. And so anyway, I was searching to see who else was out there so I can speak to them, and I didn't find. I found I've only know of one person who works as a parent coach within the UK, and there's a small group of, well, I shouldn't say small because maybe I may upset someone, but there's a group of parent coaches, but I think it's a slightly different focus.
This is
it's very specific and very unique. So it's more, when I say focus, it's parents in general, and my focus is very much about parents of children who are sick, or and so that is another layer of parenting.
Well, I know we could do a whole show.
So I don't know if anyone else is out there.
No,
that does that
I didn't
specifically.
think so. And the fact, parent coaches are few and far between, I think, but I
Yes.
don't know. But when you told me your specialty, it's like, I've never heard of this, and why not? It should be in every hospital.
I think so too.
We're going to spread the word here, but so and I know we could spend hours talking about relationships, and then we're talking about between spouses and siblings and all of that. But tell us a little bit about some of the workshops that you do, because you have really cool titles. So it's like
I do a number of workshops, both for parents as well as for professionals, and some of the titles are. What are the titles? I've just lost it.
Let's see. You said about chaos. I love that.
Turning chaos into calmness. Goodbye anxiety. Hello confidence. Creating an educational portrait for your child, because oftentimes the parents I work with, often they come in phases, or they're in different parts of their journey. So initially, it's when you first leave the hospital, and then so that's like first, few months to 6 months to a year, and then it's like when you're entering sort of the toddler phase, and then it's when you're entering the educational phase, and then as they get older, the teenage phase, and you're still having things resurface. I remember a mother telling me that her son was completely blind, and she knew that, and but he turned 16, and she felt like she was right back when he was first diagnosed, because she realized that he couldn't drive. She knew it intellectually, but it's emotionally when that milestone hit, and that happens in whether they're when they're walking or talking or whatever it may be, when the milestone hits and passes and your child is still here, that anxiety, guilt, anger resurfaces. So it could be 16, 20 years old. It's just ongoing.
Gigi told me something amazing, though. She told me that usually, and I think you told me this, the child is more resilient than we think. This is their life. They have adapted to it. We're the ones running around going, oh my God, what do I do wrong? How can I fix this?
Exactly. We're the child is, that's their life, you said, and they don't miss anything, and is often how we treat them, and how we
your reaction
to them, to them and to the situation, they pick up on that, and it can be a hindrance or it can be a stepping stone, and that's one of the other workshops that I help with, the Creative for Professionals, is actually helping them to be able to identify parents and support parents, and be able to say, well, helping them before they even leave the hospital, like having that conversation beforehand. So it's really giving the parents the ability and freedom to say, it's okay, I need help. And
amazing service. Go to www.familiesblossoming. I can only thank you. I'm so glad I finally got you on. And this lady is just doing some amazing work that should be done all over the place. And let's help her do that.
Spread the word.
Seriously, if you know someone, this is your lady. Thank you, Gigi.
Thank you so much for having me.